Hello, everyone, and welcome back to continue the conversation with Tega. If you're new here, welcome. If you've been here a while, thank you for being here. This is a space where we talk about government, pop culture, and so much more in a way that actually makes sense in real life. Not sound bites, not talking points, just honest conversations about what is happening and why. Today's episode is an important one. And honestly, it's been one I've been sitting with for a little bit, something I've been thinking about. Because right now, we're watching something unsettling, unprecedented, and not happening before. In real time, accountability is being treated like a threat. And oversight is a core part of our democracy. It's supposed to function about reframing what's currently happening, and it's being reframed as wrongdoing. Congresswoman who represents New Jersey's 10th district. She's the first Black woman to represent this district, the youngest person ever elected to Congress from New Jersey, and someone who came into public service through community work and local leadership, not political shortcuts. Recently, Rep. McIver conducted congressional oversight at an ICE facility with members of Congress, which are legal and constitutionally allowed and expected to do. What followed was unprecedented. She was detained and charged by the Department of Justice and is now facing serious legal consequences for doing her job. This isn't just one congresswoman. It's about the precedent, it's about the power, and what is happening when systems meant to hold institutions accountable start punishing the people asking questions. In this conversation, we're going to talk about what actually happened, what people need to know and understand about ICE and oversight, and political attacks surrounding her case, and what, in this moment, it means for democracy more broadly. Congresswoman McIver, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being a part of the conversation. I'm really glad to have you. This is really exciting. So thank you
Of
so
course.
much.
No, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's great to be on. Good to see you. And just grateful for the opportunity to chat with you.
Awesome. Well, before we even start, how are we doing? Okay, a lot is going on in this world, and I basically just want to know how you're doing, how you're feeling. Let's start there.
Look, like I say, I wake up every day and I'm like, what the hell is going on? I'm like, usually I'm like, what the hell, Beyonce from my team, but I'll keep it basic for you all. It is crazy. Like every hour on the hour, it is nuts. We are monitoring things coming out of the White House, happening across the country and internationally with this president. And so it's been rough. Not even just for me as a leader, it's been rough, but for my constituents that I represent. I represent close to 800,000 people, and people are stressed. They are depressed. I mean, they cut on the news just to see what the weather is, and they have to constantly deal with the terrible things that President Trump and his administration is doing. So, it's really been rough, but at the same time, I'm still pushing forward, still, waking up every day joyful and protecting the people that I serve. And this is where we're at in the moment right now.
Thank you. We value your work. We see you put in the work out there, and I think your community really appreciates you for it. To get a better understanding for my audience, my first question really to you and my first conversation I want to get into is why you decided to run for office, right? As someone who's worked in campaigns, that's a big thing I ask a lot of my candidates or even just a lot of people who vote ask, like, why did you decide to put your life in the public eye and basically want to serve your community? And what do you hope to change in DC with your work?
Yeah, well, I've been working in politics for quite some time. I started working on a campaign for my teacher at age 10, behind the scenes, doing voter registration and GOTV, which is getting folks out to vote. And it's something that I did through elementary school, through high school, and some of college. Until that teacher that I was working for on their campaign was successful in winning an election here in the city of Newark, where I'm born and raised and currently still reside in. And so, it was where I got my crash course in civics at the age of 10, when I found out what elections was like, what running for office meant. I mean, when you're 10 years old, you're like, what is that, like, and so really got the opportunity to get a crash course in that, but also to learn what it meant to really work in a community, right? It was a campaign, but at the same time, every time we lost the election, we would get out there and do other community events like food drives and clothing drives. And it's really where I got the sense of what community meant and what it meant to really serve the people of the community. And so, fast forward, I started a nonprofit to help young girls
Okay.
with life skills and leadership skills. Ran that for a couple of years. And then a council seat opened up in of my city and the ward that I had just brought a home in and the ward that I'm from. And I was like, maybe I should run, maybe I shouldn't. I don't know. I always say politics is an older person's sport. Back then, I'm like, oh, yeah, I don't know. I'm loving what I do. I don't, have time to really engage in craziness. But the one thing that really opened my eyes to wanting to get involved and run for the seat eventually was the fact that there were no young people on the
Yeah.
council. I mean,
Mhm.
no one under 40 like was serving on the council. Let alone it was only two women at the time running, and
Oh
one
my
woman wasn't
goodness.
running anymore. And I mean, in a city like the city of Newark, we already ran household of women running households. They're the largest, voting block in the city. I just found that to be just unacceptable. And I was like, that's why I should run. And the reason why I ran is to bring attention to young people. And I don't mean young people under 20. I mean, at the time, under 30, under
Mhm.
40, people with children, young, families that are currently growing to say, look, get engaged, get involved. I mean, I always say people don't have to have a PhD in politics, but know the basics, be informed, stay woke of what is happening. And so now I've just taken that show on the road from being the Central Ward Councilwoman here in the city of Newark, serving as the council president, to now being in Congress. And the reason why I decided to run for Congress is because so many years of serving locally at the local level, I knew where our breakdowns were when it came to federal support, the things that we couldn't get support for around affordable housing and affordability. And so I'm like, look, I'm going to go to Congress, do what I need to do, and bring back dollars to the district. And that is why I ran. Since getting here, girl, it has been a mess. We have been trying to hold
Drop the T.
on to the little crumbs that we have here for the people in New Jersey and across the country. And so, I mean, I definitely did not anticipate losing the presidential election. I mean, that broke my heart along with many other people who was really looking forward to having, a VP Harris be our president. And now we're dealing with the consequences of that. And it has just been dramatic and just filled with cruelty and craziness since January 20th of 2025. So, that is where I'm at, and still hopeful, still hoping that we'll, get through this and then I'll be able to deliver more for my district. But, I just hope that it inspires young people to really engage and lock into what is happening politically. Young people always tell me all the time, like, I don't be doing politics. That's too much. That's too
Mhm.
much. I'm like, no, 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 no. Like, the politics is doing you. Like, it is doing
Yep,
you
yep.
every day. So while you're sitting back, relaxing, living your life, chilling, these people are just running over you and making your life harder. And while you don't
Mhm.
feel it sometimes right then and there, it is happening. And so I just hope it really inspires young people to really engage and lock in.
No, you definitely inspire me. I remember when you actually won and they were like listing out who like won, and I was like, okay, that's a big deal for New Jersey. Someone young, someone hip. I love to see it. And I 100% agree. I think I personally didn't think we would be in this place having Donald Trump as president again. The day that like we were finding out the results, I cried. I cried. I was literally
Me
like,
and you both. Me and you
I was
both.
like, are we kidding? Are we joking right now?
No.
Did we not experience this man before? And what I'm hearing is like, it feels like an ex who will never go away. And now he's getting his revenge. And like everyone is experiencing that revenge. And
Yes.
it's really
Yes.
crazy. And I don't know,
It
but
was hard for me to get out of bed the next day. Like, it was like a day of mourning. I was
it
just like,
was.
this is depressing. Like, even my own daughter, who's 9 years old, she's like, what happened? Like, people voted for that bad man. I'm like, yes. Like, unfortunately, my love, this is what we're dealing with, like, in this country. But once again, a lot of people are having buyer's remorse right now, saying, look, we didn't want this, we didn't sign up for this. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, well, please make good on it and let's push forward to the midterm and make sure we get, all of these bad apples out of here.
Agreed. I 100% agree. And thank you for your work because, again, you're a change maker. You're a reason why there's still hope, right? And I want to remind my viewers and also you, like the work that you do every day is giving people like me hope. It's giving hundreds and millions of Americans who are feeling the oppression of Donald Trump hope that there's still people fighting, right? I think, like, again, back to the election, like when he won, for me, I was like, okay, hope is gone. And every morning I wake up now, I'm like, no, I got to keep fighting. I can't give up,
Yeah.
right? Because
Yeah.
this man will leave office and we'll have to fix all of this, you know?
But
So
that's
there's
how the
hope.
system is designed. It's designed
Mhm.
to, make you lose hope, to make you feel hopeless, to burn you out. That's why it's
Yeah.
just cruelty after cruelty after cruelty. I mean, some people I speak to, they forget about half of the cruel stuff that, the president has done. I was just talking about the big ugly bill the other day, and they're like, what was that? I'm like, you forgot? Let me remind you. But when you're piled on to nothing but depression and cruel stuff happening, you just get burnt out and you're like, whatever. And so that's why you got to keep, waking up, being hopeful and pushing through it.
I 100% agree. I don't know what more to say, but I 100% agree. And I'm going to keep pushing that message with you to everyone, including my followers and people who watch this podcast. And I want to continue more into our conversation and basically explain why we're even having this conversation and why I'm here with you. So, for people who don't know, what is congressional oversight? Because for me, I had to do a little bit of Googling. I know how it works. I've sat through some of the meetings and I've watched it a lot. But what actually is that in practice? And why is essentially is it super important for people to understand what this work is, right? And why it's constitutionally protected and important in that way.
Yeah, so statutorily, Congress members have the ability to show up to any ICE facility and have oversight. DHS facilities, ICE facilities, you can do that. That is something that is in a writing. We did not make that up. We did not wake up in May and make that up. This is something that, Congress members have the ability to do. And so that is what happened at Delaney Hall. I showed up for oversight. I didn't show up there for a protest. I didn't show up there for anything else other than going with my colleagues to have oversight of this new facility that we knew nothing about that was opening up. The mayor of the city was complaining about how they had not followed proper protocol to open up in the first place because this location is a private prison. Number one, it's always been a private prison, but
Okay.
they're not a federal owned location.
So these
They
are
just have
all
a
always
contract.
privately owned, by someone,
Correct.
and then they
Correct.
basically, work with DHS, and they're like, "Hey, we're trying to use your space to, do
Correct.
unjustified things that are not cool." Is that cool? So it's in that kinda manner, right?
Absolutely, yeah. So, I mean, and this is something we've done before, right? Me and these two colleagues of Congresswoman Bonnie Watson Coleman and Congressman Rob Menendez, we have gone to locations before here in New Jersey, one not too far from this one, and had oversight. It's just that this time when we went, we were met with a army of, ICE agents, DHS officials. We were like, what? Why did you bring the cavalry for us? We're just here
Was that,
for a
meant to
oversight.
intimidate you? Was that supposed to, intimidate
Yeah.
you, or did you
I mean,
feel?
they
Yeah.
basically we felt we were treated like dirt. I mean, literally they had no respect for our authority, for our position, or why we were there in the first place to do our job. They, did not have any plans to let us in, to get in to do our oversight visit. I mean, and they were creating all of this fiasco as we're seeing right now that's happening in Minnesota and across this country. They did not want us to come in here and see what was going on. And this is why this whole situation happened because this is what their intent was. And this is the intent that while I tried to ring the alarm last May because I knew that this would continue on. And now what do we see? We see them occupying an entire American city, creating fear, intimidation, bullying, beating people, abusing them, killing them. This is what we constantly see. And so that is what oversight is. I mean, that is what you all and millions of Americans, this is why they vote for congressional members, right? This is why they vote for their United States senators.
Mhm.
This is why we are here to have oversight, hold the executive branch accountable, and do our jobs. If we ain't doing that, what we doing? That's what we're supposed to be doing. So that's
Yeah.
why it is so important.
With that, because I think from our media perspective is oh, you guys were going and you didn't give them forewarning and you didn't let them know you were coming. I was like, do you even have to let them know you're coming? You can just show up
No,
in the middle
you
of the
do not.
night, you know?
Yeah, you can come. You do not have to give them advance notice of when you're coming. And quite frankly, we like not to give advance notice because we want to see how these facilities are operating in real time. Not when we tell you we coming and you got time to go clean up and you ain't cleaned up in weeks or
Mhm.
months. Ain't no food. People don't have supplies. Folks are being mistreated. No, we want to go when you least expect us to be coming so that we can see the facility in real time.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Thank you for that. I think that was a better explanation of what oversight is. And I guess I want you to walk us through that day, right? If you can, start to finish, everything you've experienced from your perspective. And I want to again wish you healing because again, that's really traumatic to go in there to to witness people getting abused and tortured and being put in facilities like that, right? It's not what people wanted, and I don't think it's what people expect, but it's what's happening. So I think walk us through that day from your perspective, and what you realize the treatment was for those currently detained at that facility.
Yeah, well, look, as mentioned before, we went there for our oversight visit to check out what was happening at this location. One, I showed up there because it's my job to protect the people that I represent, making sure that people are being treated with dignity and that they're being treated right and humanly right, right? And that is why I went there. As I mentioned before, I never experienced being met with so much opposition like that just to show up to do my job. This is not my first
Mm,
rodeo as an elected official. And so to be met with that much pressure, that much, pushback, I was just like, wow, like what is going on? Like we can't even have a professional working relationship with these agencies, with members of
right.
Congress. I mean, so just imagine how they're treating anyone else or how they're treating people in the dark. If they treat us this bad in light and kill people in broad daylight, you have no, I mean, I'm scared to see what's happening in the dark, right? And so that is what we went there for. Obviously, all of the situation played out that they created, that DHS and ICE created, unlawfully arresting the mayor of the largest city, in New Jersey, doing all of these crazy things that they were doing just to delay us and try to deter us from having oversight. But at the end of all of that drama that played out, we were able to go in and finally have a tour of this facility, which is what we were there for in the first place. While we were inside, we found that the conditions were exactly what people reported. People did not have access to legal, they did not have access to a telephone. We met with some women who told us that they literally could not see a doctor. They, needed mental assistance, no one there to help them. I mean, we didn't even smell any food being cooked in the kitchen. I mean, we were there like right after lunch. It was like the shop was closed. These are the things that we really heard from people on that
Mhm.
first visit. And it was important for us to see that, to report out and make, the necessary adjustments we needed to make to the Committee of Oversight and to Homeland Security to tell people this is what we saw and this is unacceptable. Fast forward weeks later after that, after they charged me saying I, allegedly was assaulting
Yeah.
officers, ICE agents, a couple of weeks later, there was an entire riot at this location
Yeah, yeah.
because detainees had not had anything to eat in days and they were starving. And because of such, they had their own protests inside that led to a riot that then led to about four detainees actually escaping this facility. They kicked down like a makeshift wall, drywall that they had, and escaped the facility. But it goes back to the point of what we were trying to say about oversight in the first place. That's why it's important for members of Congress to go out and inspect these facilities. And it goes back to the point that the mayor of Newark was making, that these folks, this facility was not up to par to be open in the first place. Because how are people escaping, right? Like, how is that
Yeah.
even possible? How are you not feeding people? How are you not offering them medical assistance? All of these things that was happening literally came true. Fast forward weeks later, I have a Haitian immigrant that is detained there, healthy 41-year-old gentleman who dies less than
Oh
24
my
hours of being
goodness.
in this facility.
Oh my
And
goodness.
we can't get any answers. We can't get any questions answered. His family is demanding answers, no criminal record. And we return back to Delaney Hall to do another oversight visit. Because once again, these charges that they're, have up against me, it's not going to stop me from showing up to do my job and protecting people. And so I showed up there again to go see what was going on, ask questions about what happened to this gentleman. How did he die, a healthy man, in less than 24 hours? And still we're waiting on answers. Still we're waiting on accountability. And so this is why oversight is just so important. Why members of Congress, including myself, like this is why I continue to do my job. We have to protect people from ICE and DHS and quite frankly from this president and this administration.
100% agree. I think what you're describing is horrific conditions. I don't know if it's even livable, right? I hear that like it's worse than prison in the sense of like there's no doors, there's no toilets, menstrual care is not available for women, and we're currently seeing like literal babies being
Yeah.
taken,
I
and put
mean,
in
but
those
also
facilities.
another good point is the last time we were there, after the gentleman passed away, Mr. Brutus, we talked to over 30 detainees there. Many of them no record. They were picked up at like immigration court. They were picked up when they were on approved work visas. Some of them on student visas. I mean, one man was like the husband of a United States, a Navy woman. Literally, I mean, this is what you see in this
Mhm.
location. Many of them actually had already volunteered to be deported because, once again, they're not criminals. They do not have a criminal record. And they're like, look, just send me back to my country. I don't want
Yeah.
to be locked up in a cage and treated like a piece of crap. So send me back. I'm ready to go back. They're still waiting months later to be deported back to their country because all it's about is money. That's what it's about. Like they're making money by jailing, folks, having them there, basically trafficking them across the country to different detention centers and not sending them back to their country. If this is the president's main focus, why are you holding people who've already said, I would like to be deported? I have
Yeah.
signed the paperwork. I am waiting for my plane ticket to get the hell out of here. Why are you still holding me? Like, this is like capture now. Like, you're literally holding people against their will. And I think people keep missing that point of how you got to follow the money on all of this too. They're not just doing this because it's cruel and it's wrong. They're doing it too so that they can get rich and their friends could get rich as well. So I
Yeah.
just want to put that out there as well for people to understand the universe of what is happening right now.
And we appreciate that detail. I think it's a lot of details that the media gets into and explains really thoroughly for people to really grasp. And to even add to your point, I recently saw a video of a woman whose husband is self-deporting and he was in a facility and he was supposed to leave that day on a flight, disappeared. In the system, she couldn't find him or
Wow.
anything. They transfer him somewhere else. They said they're gonna book his flight and everything like that. And now she's going through a whole situation like that too. Like people who want to self-deport can't even have the right to do that as well. So my next really big question to you is you talked a little bit about the charges that's currently happening and feel free, like you don't have to go into elaborate detail, but like what are you concerned about this precedent? Are you concerned about the precedent that this is setting, that it's like if you don't go with the Trump administration on everything they're doing, even when they're hurting, abusing, deporting people that don't even need to leave this country, like you're going to get punished, right? And I think there's also an
Yeah.
added factor of, targeting women of color and people of color who speak out against him. I'm going to be honest, right? Like
Yeah.
we're seeing videos of ICE agents asking for a proof of identity just based on the way people sound or the way people look. So like even that, like the most vocal people that the Trump administration have been going after are congressional members of color. So
Yeah.
my question to you is like, what concerns you most about the precedent that's being set by these like charges that are being done, and as well as what the Trump administration is currently doing with the deportation of individuals?
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, it is very worrying. For not 1 second do I want to downplay what is happening to me, and it's not just about me. That's what I've been saying since I learned about these charges on Twitter. Literally, it's about the whole process around everything. The idea that members of Congress are being shut out or basically bullied and intimidated and retaliated against for doing their job. And if they can do it to me, if they can set a precedent with me, they can do this to anybody. And it takes away the power of Congress being able to hold the executive branch accountable.
Yeah.
Legislative immunity is not about like members or Congress members being above the law. It's about protecting our right to do our job, to be a voice for the people that we represent. So when Donald Trump is trying to throw me in jail, he's basically trying to take away the voice and the representation of the people of the 10th congressional district. And
Oh
we should
no.
not be allowing this president should not be allowed to do this. He has literally weaponized the Department of Justice at his own
Yeah.
leisure for his own, get backs, for his own fights. And while it started with me and people are like, oh, it's some little black girl, from the city of Newark, now they're targeting all types of people. And people are
Yep.
like, oh my God, what's happening? And I'm like, well, I've been trying to tell y'all, had y'all not seen me battling this whole situation? Look, everyone is worried. I'm extremely worried because these people are working hard and they're working overtime to try to throw me in jail for 17 years. Like, I mean, it's the
17.
process, yes, the charges hold up to 17 years. And the process itself is the punishment. That's what it's about
Mm.
because what is it doing? It's draining me of all my resources. I have to raise dollars to fight this case that can cost up to $1 million.
Oh my
It is
goodness.
trying to intimidate me, trying to bully me out of doing my job. And this is what I'm dealing with like each and every day. And I just think we need to be more outraged about what this president is doing and how he is using the Department of Justice to do his dirty work and to do his bidding and trying to shut members up or any folks who hold them accountable, trying to shut them up and in the most cruel, crazy way. And so it's super worrying, but I know at the same time, like I am pushing forward. Like the people of the Tim have elected me to protect them, to be of service to them, and I
Mhm.
stand firm on that. So I'm not going to be bullied. I'm not going to be
You
intimidated.
should.
Black women have always stood in the gap of these injustices for so many years. There's so many people's shoulders that I'm standing on that I refuse to give up or, give in to this president. And so I'm going to keep doing, what I was sent to Congress to do, exactly that. And so it's all of it that comes with it, but
Mhm.
I'm just going to keep on pushing through it all.
I love that. I love that. Like, that's inspiring. Your courage is something that can't be like even measured right now going through this and also doing your job, right? And, having trying to have a normal sense of life as this is happening. I think we're going to add a little more to it with your experience, right? And what we just saw happen recently in Minnesota. Like, how do you tell people to not be scared every time they leave their house, right?
Yeah,
It's like with what's currently happening in Minnesota to the two individuals, Alex and the other lady who also passed away. And there's multiple people, right? At this point, we know 9 people have passed away in ICE custody. Um, how do you tell people not to be scared when they leave their home, right? Like they're like, oh, I'm
yeah,
gonna go get apples for a pie or something that I'm making. They might not come back, right? Like what
yeah.
do you tell to your constituents to just stay strong with and not be scared of existing in America?
Yeah, well, look, over 30 people plus have died in the custody of ICE. I
Oh
think the
my goodness.
latest two of seeing two people murdered in broad daylight, in front of us all, in front of the
Oh,
the American people and beyond, has definitely been troubling. But at the same time, like I tell my constituents, it's okay to be scared.
yeah.
I mean, because at the end of the day, you can't just wipe out people's fear by saying like, hey, don't be scared. No, it's a scary situation. This is the most scariest, saddest time in
Mhm.
my time anyway, in your time, right? Of what we see happening in America right now. This is like not the America we want to be living in and dreaming of. And so, I tell my folks, I know it's scary. I know it's depressing. I understand your fear in all of it. But I also tell them, we got to stand up. Like, we
Yep.
cannot take this. Like, we will not take this. Not, we can't, we will not take this. And we have to fight back and we have to be the resistance to all of this. I think for me as an elected, it's different from many others. Like, right,
Mhm.
people have different districts, different constituencies. But for the folks that I represent in the 10th, I'm like, we ain't going to take this. Like, this is what
Mhm.
we're going to do. We're going to organize, we're going to be unified, and we're going to stand up for our neighbors and for our communities.
Yep.
And we're going to be on one accord. Even when we disagree, we're going to agree to disagree. But at the same time, we know that this is not something we want to see playing out in New Jersey streets that are playing out in Minnesota. And I'm sure there are many other communities that don't want to see that. And so it's
Mhm.
scary, but I know we can find a strength in us standing together and standing up against this president and this administration.
Thank you. With looking forward, I think what do you want people to keep their eyes on? Not just with this case, but with oversight, with the Trump administration, these attacks. Like, what do you want people to keep their eye on so they stay vigilant? Sorry, not keep, stay vigilant to what's happening. And then also to know what accountability looks like, right? Because you're getting these attacks and saying, like, this is not accountability. This is just, Democrats going up against Trump. And it's like, no, if this is in the Constitution, if this is in my handbook, this is accountability, right? Like this is laid out. So what do you want people to look for to keep their eyes on moving forward?
Yeah, well, look, there's a lot for people to keep their eyes on. It's so much that people are tired of keeping their eyes on it all together, especially with the different struggles that many folks are having, right? With all of this craziness that are happening, people are still struggling. They are still working multiple jobs. They still don't have health care. They still
Mhm.
can't afford food. Rent is still high as hell. Becoming a homeowner seems like a dream that you're never going to get through. All of these things are still happening. with all of the craziness. And so for me, I always ask people, and I ask people to ask themselves this too:
Mhm.
is your life better under Trump? No matter what
Yeah.
line you're on, you can be a Democrat, you could be a Republican, you could be an independent. Ask yourself, has things gotten better for you? Is Trump
Mhm.
meeting all of your goals for yourself personally, for your family, for your children, for your community? I mean, most will say, no, they're
No.
not. And so I think keeping your eye on that, along with also too looking at your representatives in Congress and in the Senate, have they been advocating for you? Have they been keeping, your priorities at the front center? In many cases, no, they haven't, especially if they're Republican. They've been quiet, not protecting the American people that voted for them. They've given the power that the people have given them literally to Donald Trump. And do you want people representing you that has done that? And the reason why I picked
Mhm.
that to keep your eye on is because people gain amnesia when we get back to election time. They're like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and vote for this man. He ain't did nothing. Like, no, no, no. Don't lose sight of that, because you
Mhm.
should be reflecting on what they have done for you and the lack of what they have done for you as well. And going out to support leadership, no matter what side of the aisle you're on, that is going to stand up for you. Not be scared of Donald Trump and the administration. And I really want people to keep that energy flowing. We have to keep that energy going throughout the midterms, right? Getting to the midterms and making sure that we can take back control of the House and get people in positions that are going to
Mhm.
stand up for American people. And so that's the one thing I want people to. I want them to stay locked in on
Yep.
what is going good for them, what is going bad for you personally. You can add in the crazy stuff that you're seeing on the news, all of the stuff happening in Minnesota, or Trump going to kidnap presidents from another country, or all of these different crazy things that are happening. You can focus on that too, but I just feel like you got to talk to people and meet them where they're at, and connect things back to their personal experience. And so that's why I use the personal experience example, because I want people to really lock in on that, right? Lock in on how your own life is. Are you living the basic life that makes you happy? Or
Mhm.
basically a selling you? No, it's not. Then we need new leadership. And I need people to keep that energy until November.
Thank you. Thank you for that. I think that's a great way for people to find the standard thing to like look forward to and to keep looking onwards. I think there's one final thing that I want to add before we wrap up is as we're seeing a bunch of things and respectfully being gaslit by this administration, how do people know what is lawful enforcement versus excessive force in your view, right? And also in what is a correct view, right? What we're hearing right now, which I hear they're walking it back a little bit of what happened to Alex, is that, oh, this was an excessive force. They were doing their job. And I'm like, not from the 75 different angles we watched that,
Yeah,
but it
no.
was like 6 to 8 against one person. It was
Yeah,
given
no.
excessive force. So
Yeah.
I basically want you to explain to my viewers, like, how can they discern, the excessive force versus, what's lawful at this point? So that, like,
Yeah.
I don't want to say be prepared, but so people know what they're seeing is more than, rightfully in place.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you, watching the video of Alex, I mean, just using the latest situation, you know that in your community, in your neighborhood, that police are not allowed to go gun someone down on the street for holding up a cell phone, recording them. You know this. This is wrong. Not only is it like, statutorily wrong, like, in
Mhm.
training and everything else, but it's morally wrong what they did. Like, that's number one. And I think most of the American people, plus more, know that should not have happened the way that it happened. I think, there are rules and different and guidelines underneath Department of Homeland Security that these folks should be following. And those things are public record, right? Like, people can find out that information or request information to see if they want to take a deep dive in it. But we know we don't see our regular law enforcement acting like this. Like, you don't see the police in your community every day going to shoot down, people in the street because they're holding up a cell phone. Like, that is crazy. And so I just think, all of the stuff that you see happening, this stuff is not lawful. It is not
Mhm.
lawful. Even different law enforcement folks are saying, like, this is not how we're trained in the police academy. We don't do this. We don't do that. And ICE is not doing any of that training. They're hiring who knows, within the agency. And this is why I've been a true advocate in abolishing ICE because we just do not know what is happening within this department. They've had a boatload of money to act unlawfully and abuse people, basically.
Mhm.
And we just can't come back from that. Like, how do you come back from everything that they've done, all of the money that they have gotten? And
Mhm.
all of the harm that they've caused to the American people and their cruelty. Like, that is why we do not need this agency, period. Like, we don't need them anymore creating harm and using your tax dollars to do so.
Yeah. I recently learned that some of the weapons that they were using are weapons that are used in war times, right? They're used in actual war. And like, you're telling me our public dollars are funding that, right? Like, this seems a little extreme. And they keep
Your
using the
public
thing.
dollars are, yeah, your public dollars are funding terror
Mhm.
against the American people. That is what's happening.
Well, I want to say thank you so much. Thank you so much, Rep McIver, for being here, having this discussion with me. I'm really glad that we got to talk about this, hear your point of view, get some insight, as well as, prepare people for what it looks like. I think final thing to add is what is next for Congress, for you in taking on this really big challenge of removing this department, removing its funding, and not letting it destroy trust between Americans and hurting so many people as it continues to, go across the country. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, well, what's next for me is to keep doing what I've been doing my job, showing up, protecting the people of the 10th Congressional District, and being of service to them. I think, as far as the charges against me, we filed an appeal to the Third Circuit Court. And so we're waiting on that process of the second piece of this fight for me. But until then, I'm going to keep doing what I do, showing up for work every day, and standing up, to protect the people that I represent.
Mm.
As many have been talking, we may be heading into another government shutdown in the next couple of hours by the end of the week because the Republicans want to fund the Department of Homeland Security. And once again, it goes back to why would we be giving these people more taxpayer dollars to cause terror and harm? It just doesn't make sense. Like, make it make sense why we would be doing that. And so many Democrats are standing in the gap to say, no, we're not doing that. You have a
Mhm.
few Republicans like, look, we have some concern. We shouldn't be doing this. And so there has been constant votes happening today in the Senate
Mhm.
in regards to if we're heading to a shutdown or not. Congress is back in DC next week on Monday. And so we'll be, continuing to face the fight and doing what we do, on the Hill, fighting for the American people. At least some of us are doing that. And so I'm just looking forward to continuing that and continuing to be the resistance and standing up for those people that I represent.
Congresswoman McIver, thank you again, not just
Thank
for your
you. Thank
time,
you.
but for your honesty and your courage in this moment. We truly appreciate it. So, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Before we wrap up, thank you for listening to this episode. But I want to say this directly to everyone listening. This conversation is bigger than party politics. It's bigger than headlines and it's bigger than one case. Oversight is not a crime, accountability is not a threat, and democracy only works when people in power can be questioned without fear of retaliation. What's happening here should concern all of us, not because we agree on everything, but because the rules are supposed to apply consistently because silence has never protected democracy. I encourage you to stay informed beyond the headlines, how power is being exercised and who is being punished for challenging it. If this episode resonated with you, share it with someone, talk about it. These conversations matter more than ever. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. And thank you for caring enough to engage. I'll see you next time on Continuing the Conversation with Tega Aurora. Much love, friends.